The delivery gone wrong. I lived in a city in central Ohio that begins with a C and has a big college that I lived near. I attended a different college than the one I mentioned and made the 20-minute drive from the city to that college. I also worked nights as a pizza delivery man in the city and the surrounding suburbs. One night I had an order in the town where my college is located, which is a smaller suburban city northwest of my home city. Now, this call occurred during what my coworkers and I refer to as the dead hour, which is just before the shop closed at 1 in the morning. I begrudgingly took the pizza, got in the car, and plugged the address into the GPS. I noticed that the house was located off on a back road in what looked like a sparsely populated area. Not thinking much of this, I drove up Route 315 to I-270 East and exited. After passing through downtown, the cemetery, and the college, I drove through some subdevelopments and then onto the smaller roads where the house was located. The GPS notified me that I had arrived at my destination, but to my surprise, the house was boarded up. I noticed that there was a small shed in the back of the house that had a small window. There was a flickering light in the window. At this point, almost every red flag had gone off in my head, but I knew as my hard ass boss would be pissed if I whimmed out on this delivery. So I proceeded towards the shed. As I got closer, I heard a rustling in the bushes next to the driveway. Then I heard a man whisper, "Here they come, Billy. 45, 45." At that point, a man jumped out of the bushes and two other men jumped out of the shed. They were carrying knives and were wearing these long ass robes and white masks. I made it back to the car just in time, but one of the assailants managed to slit my arm. As I escaped, I could see the assailant standing in the middle of the road looking really pissed. I probably drove 90 miles per hour on the way back. When I got to the shop, everyone looked shocked. After explaining everything to them, we contacted the police and they dispatched a few officers to the house. When they got there, the assailants were gone. They found some drug paraphernalia in the shed and some ropes and weird torture equipments. Always remember, carry pepper spray. Everyone. The fake delivery guy. My younger sibling has a couple of medical conditions requiring supplies, and my hometown has a pharmacy with a delivery service. We often got deliveries from them. When I was in middle school, my mom got a different job, which meant that I would get home about 2 hours before everyone else, and that I'd be completely alone all by myself. A few weeks after the start of the school, right after I got home, a guy rang the doorbell and said he was from the pharmacy. He had the uniform shirt on and was holding a small bag with their logo on it. I started to unlock the door and went as far as to take off the deadbolt and the top lock off when I happened to think about the fact that the guy has sunglasses and a hat on and jeans underneath the uniform. Whereas most of the drivers were very professional looking, I looked down at the street and saw that there wasn't one of their delivery cars anywhere. Plus, the bag he had was very small, and the deliveries we usually get were a lot bigger. I told him to wait a couple of minutes as I called my mom to ask if we were expecting a small delivery. She told me that we weren't expecting any delivery and to tell the guy that he must have had the wrong house. I went back to the door and told him that, and he started insisting that it was the right one, and he knew our last name. I asked him which person the medicine was for, and he didn't know. I told him that we would just pick up the medicine at the pharmacy, to which he started to get really mad and say it didn't make any sense and that your parents are going to be mad if you don't take this delivery. At this point, I was getting really scared because he wasn't leaving. Right after he said that, my uncle who lived nearby was coming up to our stairs to pick something up. When the guy turned around and saw him, he went down the stairs and said, "Sorry, wrong house," to my uncle and jumped in his car and left. My mom called the pharmacy when she got home and they didn't have any drivers who matched the guy's description or any deliveries scheduled for us. And the pharmacy manager, she was really disturbed because one of the workers had their work shirt stolen out of the gym locker a few weeks before. I completely refused to be at home by myself for months after that. And it still creeps me out to think about how close I was to open the door and the fact that he knew our last name. Fuck.